Hello again. This will be a country analysis over Angola, brought to you by myself, Antoinette Guillen, as project manager, Craig A. Conrad, Martin Jarvis, and Dahee Kim. Let's start with the country overview. The Republic of Angola is located on Africa's western coast. It is bordered in the west by the South Atlantic Ocean, the Democratic Republic of the Congo to the north, Zambia to the east, and Namibia to the south. The official coordinates for Angola are 12.3 degrees south and 18.3 degrees east. The current population of Angola is 30.36 million individuals. The capital city of Angola is Luanda. Its original name is Sao Paulo La Asutico de Luanda, but after years of corruption, the name was shortened to just Luanda. Angola received its independence from the Portuguese in 1975. The colony of Angola was actually established in 1575 by Portugal when they set up a slave trade there that became its main export for more than 250 years. In 1975, when a then tired Portugal fled the country without handing over power, the 27-year war started, and it lasted from Independence Day, November 11, 1975, until 2002. The current political leader inside of the Republic of Angola is President João Lourenço, elected September 27, 2017. President Lourenço was born in 1954 in Lobito, Angola. As a young man, he fought against the colonial power of Portugal and then again in the 27-year Civil War. Current political ideology inside of the Republic of Angola is considered a presidential republic. This means that the president has the role of head of state, head of government, and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Elections in Angola are held every 5 years, and suffrage for both men and women is at the age of 18. According to the Constitution, and in Angola, the president is not directly elected by the people, but rather the leader of the winning party, much like the United States, with the popular vote and the electoral college.
Hi, this is Dahee Kim. I'd like to present about the business practices in Angola. First, I will talk about the language and business language. Portuguese is the official language in Angola. However, 40% of the population of Angolian is speaking Bantu as their first language. And English is spoken in the business system. Senior manager in the oil and gas firm, they can speak some English, but most of the Angolian don't understand English. Now let's move on to literacy. According to Central Intelligence Agency, Angola literacy rate is 71.1%, while the male literacy rate is 82%. For female, it's only 60.7%. The third thing I'd like to cover is working hours, lunchtime, and break time. The maximum normal working hours are 44 hours a week and 8 hours a day. The working week is Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. But most government offices close a couple of hours earlier on Fridays, and they have 2 hours lunch time and break. According to the general labor law in Angola, they must have an hour break when they work 5 hours, and they have lunch time break separately. The last one that
Hi, this is Craig Conrad. Angola's economy is largely dependent on the oil industry. Agriculture provides the greatest number of jobs, but half the country's food is still imported. Angola was in the middle of a post-war economic boom when the world economic crisis of 2008 hit and caused many construction projects to grind to a halt because the government revenues had fallen. This and other factors caused Angola's currency, the kwanza, to fluctuate, and Angola was forced to formally give up their currency pegged to the United States dollar in October of 2009. Angola reinstituted its peg to the US dollar in April 2016, but again had to drop this in January of this year. This showed that the kwanza is highly volatile, and this volatility makes Angola's relationship with the World Bank and other banking institutions tentative at best. As the second largest exporter of oil in the Sub-Saharan African region, this industry makes up 97% of the entire export market for Angola, with $31.89 billion. The next largest market, pearls, precious stones, and metals, which is largely made up of diamonds, makes up 3.3% of the export market with $1.1 billion. Fish, crustaceans, and mollusks have a paltry 0.14% of the export market with $9.47 million. This sizable dependency on oil will wreak havoc on the Angolan economy each time the price of crude oil dips in the world market. Angola's GDP is $187.3 billion and comes with a 3% growth rate over the last year and a 4% growth rate over the last 5 years. Angola has per capita GDP of $6,844, which equates to an estimated average monthly income of $570 per individual. It is estimated that approximately 40% of Angola's population still lives below the poverty line. Imports for Angola only started to be reported shortly after their 27-year civil war ended in 2002. Angola had an impressive post-war boom on imports from a low of approximately $3 billion in 2002 to an all-time high of $22.6 billion in 2009. This came to a crashing halt when the world economic crisis caught up with their economy in the beginning of 2010. Since then, the Angola import market has largely floated around $5 billion since 2011. But the last quarter, there was the lowest ever recorded with less than $2.8 billion in imports. Angola's top three import partners are China with $2.83 billion, equating to 17% of all imports. Portugal with $2.45 billion, 15% of all imports. South Korea with $1.23 billion at 8.6% of all imports. Angola's top three import markets are machinery, nuclear reactors, boilers at $3.5 billion, commodities not specified according to the kind at $2.3 billion, and articles of iron and steel at $1.3 billion. Angola's export was in a post-war boom starting in late 2002 and continued until it reached its peak at the end of 2008 with an all-time high of almost $64 billion. In 2011, the export market again dropped below $20 billion and has not returned above that mark since, dropping to an all-time low of $5.3 billion in the beginning of 2016. Angola's current export market is now $9.7 billion. Angola's top three export partners are China with almost $14.3 billion at 43% of exports, India with almost $2.7 billion at 8% of exports, and Spain with more than $2.2 billion at 6.7% of exports.
The university system in Angola is less than stellar. However, over the past few years, Angola has been making strides to improve their university system. They have teamed with Portugal in their university endeavors. As a matter of fact, the best universities in Angola are those that are related to Portugal. Still, the majority of the population of Angola cannot afford to send their children to the university. And as well, wealthy Angolans, those that are with means, feel that the even better universities are found abroad, and so they send their children abroad. And so then we're left with the poorer children who have no hope for a higher education, who eventually drop out of school simply to find work. Hospitals in Angola, since its 1975 independence, have provided free health care to the public. What's interesting, there is in the capital city of Luanda a state-of-the-art hospital that the poor citizens don't even realize is a public hospital. They believe it's a private hospital. Why? Because the hospital charges a $200 down payment. They even charge $100 for a consultation fee. Why is that? Because the president of Angola has authorized state-of-the-art hospitals like this one in its capital city to charge these fees to keep out the poor and the wayward citizens. So only the wealthy get treatment in these hospitals because they're the only ones that can afford the down payment and the consultation fees. Now when you go into the neighborhoods where the poor people live and you see the hospitals that are there for them, you realize those hospitals are run down. They're nothing like these state-of-the-art hospitals. And the complaint is that these hospitals run out of supplies, that they don't have enough medical equipment to go around. And even the medicine that's been prescribed to their loved ones is not available and is not affordable by their poor family members. So you find the family members going out onto the black market simply to get medicine to be administered to their loved ones. So although the hospital, this particular public institution, which is supposedly offering free health care to the population, is sort of under the guise of being a private hospital to keep away the majority of the population from experiencing that free public health care. All property in Angola belongs to the state. There are, however, long-term leases available, up to even 60 years. But what's interesting about the Angolan government is that at times, over a whim, they acquisition large amounts of land from folks who legally had claim to that land for a given period of time. Most of the time, these acquisitions are made in rural areas. But as well, the government also evicts urban dwellers and sends them to social housing areas where there is a lack of provision and no monetary reimbursement for their move. There are laws that are in place to protect the people, but the government often simply ignores those laws. Angola currently has plenty of laws on the books protecting intellectual property. The Patent Cooperation Treaty of 1970, amended in 1979 and 1984. Property rights are administered by the Ministry of Industry. The Ministry of Culture oversees copyright, literary, authorship, and artistic. Angola is currently joined with the World Intellectual Property Organization. Angola's judicial system is based on the Portuguese legal system, consisting of municipal courts and provincial courts, all subordinate to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court consists of one court president, one court vice president, and up to 16 judges. The Supreme Court judges are appointed by the president. The Tribunal Court has 11 judges and serve 7-year terms. Unfortunately, the Angolan judicial system is too often used as a political tool by the president against challengers. challengers who are often falsely accused, tried, and imprisoned, as judges will render rulings consistent with the will of the president. Transparency International's Corruption Index ranks Angola 164 in corruption out of 176 countries. What's interesting is that Angola maintains a myriad of laws aimed at preventing corruption. The population of Angola is 31,152,424 as of November 16th. The fertility rate among women is 5.54. That's 5.54 children per woman. The demographics for Angola are Avimbundu ethnic 37%, Ambundu ethnic 25%, Bakongo ethnic 13%, other 21%, African European 2%, and European 1%. It's estimated that there are 200,000 Portuguese in Angola today. Education for school-age children in Angola has been extremely unsatisfactory. Children graduating from school are very rarely prepared for college. Angola's education system for kids is 4-8. That is 4 years of early education, ages 7 through 11, and 8 years of education, ages 11 through 18. The result up to now has been a very low literacy rate among adults and a very unskilled labor force in Angola. The new president, Lourenço, has pledged to correct what is wrong with the education system. He is determined to offer more pay to teachers and to ensure that the teachers on hand are qualified. There's an innovative new program in the works for Angola, which is currently operating in Rwanda, which combines telecommunication companies, the government, and Facebook to allow children access to online resources to add to their educational experience. Very innovative. Angola currently has 161,070 fixed-line telecommunication users. 13,323,952 cellular users, and 6,000 internet users. Internet providers are MS Telecom, Net1, TV, Cabo, and Intelnet. Now, of course, there are many more internet providers, but these are the top 4. Broadcast media, the government controls all broadcast media. Television, there's 3 channels, and there's radio, all government controlled. Government controlled radio and television entertain 13% of the Angolan population. The primary transportation in Angola are buses and trains. Angola has 1 heliport, 176 airports, 31 of them paved. China has an ongoing project right now in Angola, creating an airport, which is scheduled to be completed in 2020. Railroad, 1,772 miles. China had a project and completed a project in 2015, adding 835 miles of railroad to Angola Railways. Roadways, there are 31,956 miles of roadways. 3,324 miles of those roadways are paved. Major seaports are in Cabinda, Lobito, and Namibe. Thank you.
Healthcare inside of the Republic of Angola, it's much like other countries inside of Sub-Saharan Africa. Average life expectancy is 60.6 years old. However, for men, that number is closer to 58.5 years, and for women, it is 62.7 years. Currently, inside of Angola, there is 0.14 physicians per every 1,000 individuals inside of the country, and only 0.8 hospital beds per 1,000 individuals inside the country. healthcare expenditures for Angola is only 3.3% of the GDP. Leading causes of death inside of Angola include diarrheal diseases, lower respiratory infections, malaria, preterm birth complications, and protein energy malnutrition. All of these things say that there is simply not enough supply for the demand of the people inside of Angola. Angola needs to invest more in their public health sector to ensure that their people are healthy and able to work. In conclusion, Angola is one of the best countries to invest in. However, there are many challenges that are related to doing business inside of Angola. High costs for human resources, bureaucracy, a lack of infrastructure, and other huge challenges affect business practices in Angola. Make sure that you comply with underlying rules and regulations. It's worth embracing their culture and the languages as a medium for communication. Becoming conversant in exchange rates can also help in making decisions regarding profits made. As seen with investments in healthcare, with investors, help identify the issues and aid in the solution so that Angola can continue to grow and prosper. Thank you for spending time with us, learning. We hope we learned as much as we did.